Welcome back, YouTubers, to another TNA Impact Wrestling review of us, the British Fist!
Gotcha.
I'm Mr. Parkin here, and this guy sitting next to me is none other than NJ, everybody!
What's up?
Subscribe above, like this video, comment your thoughts on this video down in the comment section below.
And make sure you contact us in the links in the description box below.
So 10 days away from Bound for Glory, NJ. We expected the Bound for Glory hype to be really kicked into gear already. I really don't think it was, so I was really hoping that this show would really kickstart that Bound for Glory hype, in my opinion.
Because at the minute, Bound for Glory is meant to be TNA's biggest pay-per-view, and right now, I just feel like it's just any old pay-per-view with big matches at the pay-per-view.
Kind of on the fence with the build right now, but we'll go straight into this review. The first thing we see on TV is Hogan and Sting talking about how they're going to be picking a guy tonight. So I believe they're going to pick Sting's tag team partner. So this was the main angle of the evening. They wanted someone with a killer instinct.
Because following last week when they had Sting and Hogan going to the clubhouse with the AcesAnd8's, the AcesAnd8's made this challenge to find a tag team partner to face them. Very nicely set up, so they needed this to be finding the right tag team partner for this match. So last week I sent out an invite to any of you worthless mortals to step in my clubhouse with me and my boys. And some of you thought you were strong enough, tough enough to step in with us. Well, give it a try and we'll show you how tough we are. But now I'm going to send my boys out because there's some unfinished business to do. Alright boys, out!
So we officially opened the show this week with none other than Mr. Anderson coming out saying that this asshole should be Sting's tag team partner at Bound for Glory.
And the thing with Anderson, he's a guy who looks like he's going somewhere, fails to go somewhere, and with this possibly going his way, it would give him a Bound for Glory match, big involvement, and possibly some big direction following the pay-per-view. So from this, I thought it's quite random because he's not really been making much TV appearances, but this could have been a good workout for him.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why this opened the show. Generally, you'd want to open your show quite strongly. I'm not saying Mr. Anderson isn't a strong character or this wasn't a strong segment. I just felt that they really needed something else to open the show. I mean, you had Mr. Anderson versus Gunner. He beats Gunner very quickly, looking very strong. Then you have Kid Cash attacking Anderson after the match, and Anderson mic checks him as well. So he's looking good in front of Sting, who was in front of the TV monitor.
And that's the thing, even though Gunner and
Kid Cash
are not really the biggest tag team, they're one of the tag teams that TNA don't have much of. So maybe you want them to look a bit better than they did. But overall, Anderson being the highlight of this match takes them both out, looking good to be the possible tag team partner for Sting. So overall, I thought this segment really worked out.
Yeah, even though it was a strange one to open the show, it made Anderson look very strong. And to be honest, the first time in a while we've been able to sit there and say that Anderson was the spotlight of a segment.
That's what he needs, because obviously he's still a big name. He's still someone that could be a good main eventer for this company. So for this, I give him credit for actually trying to do justice for Anderson.
Tara and Gail Kim versus Mitch Teschmacher and ODB. Yeah, the match went about 5 minutes. It was your typical knockouts match. You have Tara pushing Gail Kim into Mitch Teschmacher, who then hits the Widow's Peak to get the victory. Well, at least this time she's getting the victory in a somewhat strong way, and she isn't booked like shit and having to feign an injury to win the match.
Very true. In this match, the Hills had to win this. Oh, yeah. Even though I'd like to see ODB in more of a singles role, that was good to see. But the main focus was Gail Kim and Tara, who teased a possible match, or if you do capture the championship, I'm going to be coming after you. So there's a bit of tease there, and the match gave us the right winner going for the future feud.
Yeah, they need to make Tara look as strong as possible with the heel turn. This was kind of effective, but it was kind of just there. And I think segments like this really do show that Bruce Pritchard isn't very high on female wrestling as well, because it was just kind of there. Really, yeah, it furthered on the story, but not incredibly strongly. And I really felt that Tara and Miss Teschmacher could do with a little bit more, like, you know, real good segments. Maybe a promo segment before, but we'll move on from that. Joey Ryan and Al Snow had a segment on this show. Joey Ryan got a lot of heat when he came. I was surprised, especially with the 87 presenters. I was surprised he got a lot of heat, but you get Al Snow saying that he's sorry for everything that happened. He's drawn up a contract for Joey Ryan. He signs the contract like, nah, I don't need to look at the contract. And then we get what I assume is a Bound for Glory match for one night only. Joey Ryan versus Al Snow, even though there was no real stipulations or anything added to this match, it would seem. We didn't bring any mention of it.
But with this, they built up the video packages, giving Al Snow looking like, you've done wrong, you need to do right, this is your chance to put things right. And that's what he did, in a bit of a clever way to get his way of proving that Joey Ryan deserves this contract. And the match is set up, which I thought was quite clever, even though Pritchard is right. You don't really want to see Al Snow wrestling anymore. He's more of a speaker now. But it's set up in a way that makes sense and leads us to a later match.
Yeah, I mean, this has had a very slow build, and I thought that this was a perfect match to have at Bound for Glory. Yes, Al Snow isn't really that great in the ring anymore. He's quite old, but at the same time, for a one-off match, putting Al Snow in there is a decent idea. I just wonder, they didn't really announce, it was a very strong segment between these two, as we kind of expected, but they didn't really announce any stipulation, like if Joey Ryan wins, he gets a contract, or they just said he's got one contract, so that means, what, one match at the biggest pay-per-view of the year?
Well, the way Al Snow put it, you've got one chance to prove this, one chance to beat me and get your contract, so I'm expecting that to be the stipulation made for this. And I just think it was nicely done, a match he was expecting, and it was nicely set up.
So we had a TV title match next between Samoa Joe and Rob Van Dam. Samoa Joe won the TV title last week, and he was defending the title, and he beat RVD in about 4.5 minutes. It was a decent match. I just wonder, with the fact that they announced Magnus versus Joe at the pay-per-view, why there was no Magnus involvement here, because we haven't really seen it on the TV show for a long time, and if they're going to have a match at the pay-per-view, as we found out later on in the night, why didn't they have Magnus here, or at least show him on the ramp or something?
Even though Joe's a really good wrestler, I felt this match was pretty short for what it could have been. Even though I'm not putting it down because it was still an okay match, but for two big names like this, you do expect more of a fight, more of a challenge, more of a championship kind of looking match. But Samoa Joe gets the win, which was needed. But yes, I think Magnus definitely needed to add the possible announced match we got later in the night.
Yeah, I mean, they've had loads of opportunities to try and further along this feud, but it doesn't really seem like they've really taken it up, and it kind of just seems like an afterthought now on the pay-per-view, really, even though there is a TV title match, but it's had very little build, and it's just a shame to see a feud like Samoa Joe and Magnus have that little build. Even though we've kind of knew they were in a feud, they haven't been featured regularly on TV, which is a real shame.
And some people on Twitter were saying we've still got one more week for big things to happen, but that's not the thing.
No.
You need a good build-up as each week, and this feud, as much as fans want to see it, it's not been built up in a way that makes us desperately want to see it.
Chavo Guerrero came out with Hernandez versing Kurt Angle with an injured hamstring still with AJ Styles. You know, this was one of those, it was kind of another one of those segments that was just kind of there. They were kind of trying to tease tension between Chavo, Hernandez, and Angle and Styles. The match itself, I mean, you expect Chavo and Angle to have a pretty decent match, and it was a decent match. It was 6.5 minutes. So.
Well, going into this match got more time than other matches, which was pretty good to see because it had Kurt Angle and Chavo. But the thing is, I really didn't expect Angle to put Chavo over. I thought Angle would be like, I'm up here, you're just trying to climb your way up because you've never been above me, same level as me. But this match was pretty good. It went down pretty smoothly. They both tried to do the three amigos and stuff. So this match was pretty strongly done. All built for this big tag team match we're getting Bound for Glory. So I really enjoyed this.
I think one problem with this triple threat feud is they've really had limited ways of building it, and they've kind of just had to put out matches and stuff, and there's no real proper feud there. The ending also seemed a little bit botched, in my opinion. The two teams kind of face off, and then Daniels and Kaz come out, and then it's like, oh, well, they've got one common cause there. Why didn't they just stay in the back and let them fight off? It just would have been a more effective way of doing it, but there we go. We had a random X Division Championship match. Zema Iron versus Doug Williams. This was kind of unhyped out of nowhere, and I think, to be honest, the way it's going right now, it shows you how little they think of the X Division, and it is a real shame. It probably won't even have a match at the pay-per-view at this rate.
And the thing is, with the X Division, they've been trying to build up, reinvent again, especially after Aries left this kind of area of TNA, and it's just gone back to square one, back to nothing really there. You've got great X Division wrestlers. Yes, some are injured, some are not being used, some were used but not being used now. This match came out of nowhere, and I really had no interest in this match.
This is what happens when you're kind of relying a lot on a guy that's injured in Jesse Sorensen and relying on that Zema Ion versus Jesse Sorensen storyline. I mean, the segment was good in making Zema Ion look strong. He looks very strong. He won with that reverse armbar, which looked like it fucking hurt. The decision gets reversed, but it doesn't really matter. But the problem is who's going to face at the pay-per-view? Has he got an announced match of the pay-per-view? No. Should they maybe have had like a Kenny King run out, or a Sonjay Dutt run out, or whoever run out? Probably. I mean, if they were going to hype it up, they should have done it. But I think, to be honest, right now, the X Division is once again a very bare division in terms of talent.
And X Division is one of the things that TNA stands out for. But to be honest, they're really not treating it as an importance at the minute. You can't blame it on like the AcesAnd8's because they weren't heavily involved tonight. Bound for Glory's finished. So to be honest, they had full right to do so with the X Division, and they failed to do it. Oh, and one more thing. Sting and Hogan, you've been trying to take us down, finish us off. But let me just say this. We're going to be coming for you sooner or later, and we'll be taking you down. So beware, Sting and Hogan.
So we then have a backstage segment where you have D'Lo Brown and Pritchard talking about Matt Morgan coming in during a live event and kicking a referee. So it seems like they're starting the build back for Matt Morgan like an invasion kind of thing.
The thing is, there's two things I want to say about this. Pritchard was blaming D'Lo for not being there. I wonder why, AcesAnd8's. And the other thing is, Matt Morgan trying to hype his return. I don't care. It'll be big for about 2 weeks.
Probably.
And it will go back to just being another wrestler that will use for filler matches. So to be honest, hype it all you want. I don't think much is going to come from it.
I must admit, I am interested in how they're going to bring him back in. I mean, is he going to be part of the AcesAnd8's? You know, who really knows what they're going to do? But at least they're acknowledging the fact that Morgan is still out there and he kicked a referee at a live event, and at least they're acknowledging it. So next we had the Storm and Roode, and also the introduction of King Mo segment. We had Storm coming out saying that it's been 1 year since the feud started and it will end at Bound for Glory. Then you get Bobby Roode coming out saying that James Storm should be concentrating on the match and not this King Mo bullshit that's going on.
Yes, that's the thing, because Storm, as we all know, is really great on mic, really helping to warm this feud up, this matchup. He mentions that he's going to prove that he's the better man compared to Roode. Roode's obviously not liking that one single bit, and he says that he's going to be the one to prove it. Really hyping the match up, and I'm expecting something bigger to happen next week to give the kickoff ready for the match. But then we have this King Mo, and I really didn't care. He comes out as a character that I don't really think suits this kind of match, so there we go.
I can understand they want to bring him in very strong, but should they really have interjected him into this segment? Yes, he's the enforcer guy, and they're trying to bring him in a strong way, but in my opinion, he comes down to the ring, he pushes Bobby Roode, and I can't help but think to myself, this guy just screams out heel. I mean, let's face it, King Mo isn't a massive name. It's not like a Floyd Mayweather or anything like that. He's not a massive name, but he looks like a heel. He's got that Floyd Mayweather thing, and they're trying to package him as a face, but he looks like a heel. So I think that he may just turn heel at Bound for Glory and in this match. I really am strongly considering that right now.
What I would have done, if anything, is have had him push down Roode, got into the ring and did the same thing to James Storm. Yeah, James Storm needs to look strong, but just so this could look either way, going to, who you going to side with, you could have done it to Storm, but like I said, I don't think he's definitely needed in this match, not one bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I sort of agree on that one. I agree, they're trying to do a Ken Shamrock, they're trying to bring in this guy from another aspect of the company in a strong way. Whether or not he's needed in there, we'll find out towards the pay-per-view. I mean, I'm okay with it right now, but to interject him into this segment, which really should have been about Roode and Storm, essentially, maybe not. Maybe they're trying to get ratings. I don't know what they're trying to do. King Mo isn't that big a freaking name, for God's sake. We had the segment where the AcesAnd8's were torturing Joseph Parks with the old electric things on the wet nips, and
yeah, that's the thing. The first thing I've noticed about this, it took an hour and a half, or just over an hour and a half, before they even actually realised that from last week they were going crazy trying to do what they can to bring him back, and then this week it's just like you have to wait a whole hour and a half before the whole Joseph Parks comes to life, and I'm like, it's stupid. You should have been like throughout the night Hogan and Sting talking about Joseph Parker, thinking we need to get him back, we need to go back up there and fight our asses off to get him back. I just think this really didn't follow on from last week as well as it could have done.
It kind of does Hogan care about Joseph Park? I mean, it doesn't seem like it, does it?
Not at all.
I don't know, but we had that. Next up, we had the main event segment. We had a backstage segment earlier on in the night where Bully Ray says he wants to prove himself by going up against Jeff Hardy and Austin Aries in a triple threat match, and that's what we got next.
That's the one thing I did like, the whole Sting involvement with various wrestlers backstage. Bully Ray happened to jump in and getting his say to each wrestler. I really enjoyed how they built up this possible tag team partner for Sting, and how Bully Ray was trying to get as much involved as he can for the main event.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought, though, to be honest with you, the main event of Bound for Glory deserved its own segment, and it kind of seemed like they were interweaving all this Aces and Eights stuff into this segment, and not to mention the fact that we got back from commercial, the match was going on, the match was very short, and they were trying to use Bully Ray as a plot device. I mean, Hardy and Aries didn't really touch each other that much, which was good, but I'm just not sure why you had to interject all this Aces and Eights build into this match, which is essentially the main event of the pay-per-view. The focus should be on, if it's the main event, then the focus should be on those two guys. I mean, you get this bit where Bully Ray pushes Hardy into Aries. He then gets the pin on the #1 contender, and you get this little face-off between Aries and Hardy, where Aries is acting very heel, and Hardy is pretty damn over.
Well, I think the way they did this, Bully Ray was obviously trying to get himself into the title kind of picture, which may help the Ace and 8 storyline later on. Him getting the win here, you do expect the heel to find the best way of winning this match. And I think Bully Ray getting the win here, the way they did it, obviously it did make Jeff Hardy hit into Aries, Aries get annoyed by that, blah, 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 tease them to Bully Ray getting the cheap win. I liked how it finished.
Kind of similar to King Mo, really, being interjected into Roode and Storm. Not really sure why I really wasn't for the way they did this segment. They had to have Bully Ray look strong, but they had to have him pin either the #1 contender or the world champion in order to do that. I just wasn't really in agreement with how they really structured this match, but we'll move on to the actual main event segment of the evening, which is Sting and Hogan picking their tag partner. Now, they originally go for Mr. Anderson as Sting's partner, but then we go to the backstage footage where Aces and Eights have attacked him, and then very conveniently, Bully Ray, very suspiciously, comes out and said that he should be in the team. You've seen what Aces and Eights done to Mr. Anderson. And you're kind of sitting there thinking, hang on a minute. They attack Anderson, and Bully Ray now wants into this match. He kind of teasing him a lot that he could be the leader.
It looks that way, and plus that how quick Bully Ray got into that ring. 1 minute the camera's looking backstage, next minute he's in the ring. So it's like he's waiting for this particular moment. I really do think they're teasing this Bully Ray involvement in the Ace and Eights. But the way, again, his mic work, I really enjoy.
He had to sell himself, didn't he, pretty much?
Very true. He got in the face of Sting, then said Hogan, I'm the right choice, let it happen. And the way it went down, you knew it was coming, you knew what was going to happen. So it's going to be Sting and Bully Ray versus the Ace and Eights. And I just really thought the way they did this, yes, it took out Anderson, so Anderson's been knocked back a few pegs once again. But Bully Ray's been knocked forward, which is going to probably lead more towards the Ace and Eights at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, so Bully Ray is the tag partner now, and you got to think that they're probably going to do something with Bully Ray and the Aces and Eights now in this tag match, as we do essentially believe the Aces and Eights are going to win, because let's face it, the Turning Point poster has got Aces and Eights on it, so they're not going to lose this match. But yeah, I guess Bully Ray, in my opinion, was the best choice, especially if they were going to interlink him with the Aces and Eights. This is a perfect time to do it. So, your overall thoughts on this edition of TNA Impact Wrestling, then?
It didn't feel like, yes, it's not the go-home show, but it didn't really feel like they're building up the whole card for the pay-per-view. They're just picking the odd matches from it. I didn't feel this was the most entertaining show. The Ace and Eights were left till the last few minutes of the show. There's numerous little slots throughout the show. Aries was shown as a focus point. So I think they focused on the three main points. Ace and Eights, Aries and Jeff Hardy, and Roode and Storm. So I think they did just as in the main event scenes, but not the other matches, not as well as they could.
I mean, this was an okay show, don't get me wrong, and on another day I may say it was a good show, but we're going into Bound for Glory. Right now, I don't feel any natural hype, like as much natural hype as I feel I should, and I think that is down to the way TNA are doing their shows right now, and the fact that like matches like Magnus and Joe have just randomly been added to the card, even though they haven't really had that much build and stuff like that. But so it was an okay show, but I'm still not quite feeling this Bound for Glory hype yet, and that is a bit of an issue with me. As I've looked forward to Lockdown, Slammiversary, most of the pay-per-view. This one, with it being the big pay-per-view that is, it's not feeling like a big pay-per-view, and that's a big worry for me.
They're concentrating too much on the big angles going to the pay-per-view instead of the little ones that are going to help to build up to the main event. We've got one more week. Could they make it more interesting? Yes. But have they lost track of time a bit? Yes, I think so.
Yeah, well, you give us your thoughts on this edition of TNA Impact Wrestling down in that comment section below. I have been Mr. Parkin, and this guy sitting next to me has been NJ.
What's up? And now from Mr. Parkin and me, AJ, thank you very much for watching this video. Please make sure you subscribe above, like this video, and share any comments you have in the comments below. And from Terminator NJ and the AcesAnd8's, goodbye. I hope there's no AcesAnd8's tonight.
Oh, it's all down, especially.
Not again.
Oh, no, what you mean?
It would be a bit of trouble if they
are.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah, okay.
Cool, guys.
Just,
We're
sorry.
just going this way.
See ya.